Some neck warmers if you like them. Would you like some pair of gloves?
Yeah, please.
A neck warmer. Drink as well.
Yeah.
There you are, love.
Okay.
Awesome.
Right, just let you know, there's people on the other side of the fence there. This is dangerous what they're doing.
This is what they do to homeless sanctuaries. This is 2018, unfortunately. This is how they treat the homeless possessions. Chucking it on the floor. Police just watch them do it. Nothing much has changed in 4 years. If anything, it's probably got worse. We now don't have a night shelter in Bournemouth somewhere, so unless the temperature goes below 0, there is nowhere in Bournemouth where they can go, just turn up and get some shelter for the night. It's absolutely disgusting.
79,000 households were owed help from local authorities to address homelessness. Now currently, homelessness in England is at the highest since 2018.
What would make a real difference and a real change?
More flats for the homeless people, night shelters, more soup kitchens, more essential stuff, sleeping bags, like tents and that.
The homelessness problem in the UK continues to be a massive problem. In 2018, numbers hit a record high. It was estimated 4,500 people were sleeping rough then. But have things changed much in 6 years? Is the government and NGOs tasked to fix the problem doing enough? Are they fixing the problem or adding to them? Or worse still, could they be taking advantage of the situation financially? In this video, we put the spotlight on NGO St Mungo's, the group and association tasked with fixing the homeless problem across the UK by local authorities and the government.
You should take a pay cut. Take a pay cut.
You're going back to work now.
On the demonstration, take a pay cut. Take a pay cut.
My name is Adam Boleski. I'm a Unite rep. I'm here on strike for St Mungo's. We're striking the fact that CEO and senior management are on £100,000 plus wages, while our wages are going down in relation to inflation. We don't like the corporate nature of our company anymore.
St Mungo's began as a splinter group from the Simon community in the 1960s. This is allegedly because of a fallout because of drinking on the premises that the Simon community allowed. Jim Horn, a former worker at Simon, became the chairman of the newly formed group, and being Scottish, he believed the powers of Glasgow Cathedral might be persuaded to make an ample donation if it was named after their patron saint. It proved to be a false hope. Initially starting off as a soup run in 6 locations across London's West End, in the areas where rough sleepers congregated, but due to in-house squabbling and management cutbacks, the soup run was ended in 1969. In 1973, 2 large hostels were built in Vauxhall and in Suffolk Street off the Strand. The building in Vauxhall was a disused Marmite factory and could house up to 200, notorious for the strong smell of the production process. There was another change in the organisation when Jim Horn left in 1979, and the group split into 3: St Mungo's Community Trust, St Mungo's Housing Association, and Bondway Shelter. The original trust is now Hestia Housing and Support, while the separate housing association became the main St Mungo's charity we see today, which merged with Broadway Housing in 2014, which is probably the best place to start to understand the modern day St Mungo's, and this is where it starts to get a little bit more interesting.
Call on our Chief Executive, Howard Sinclair.
Morning. Didn't expect to be standing out here this morning, but didn't expect to be standing out here this morning, but I'm glad to be here. And now at St Mungo's Broadway, we have to find a way forward, and part of that is we're not St Mungo's and we're not Broadway. We are St Mungo's Broadway, and we have the opportunity and are creating a charity that could be really, really special. We are being put in an invidious position by the decisions that are being made about our funding. Everyone here knows that. Everyone believes that we need to influence and fight on that. And I can't say much because I'm lobbying it. Is all that I know is that society has some choices in how it allocates its money. And actually, the most vulnerable and the homeless should be at the top of that list. I'm going back to work now.
You should take a pay cut. Take a pay cut.
You're going back to work
In
now.
order for the demonstration, take a pay cut. Take a pay cut in order for the demonstration of the workers and the task force. Take a pay cut.
As I was going to say, I'm going back to work now. You're going to go back to work now.
In April 2014, St Mungo's merged with another housing association, Broadway, who also specialised in homeless housing. After this merge, the organisation was restructured and staff members on the front line were the victims. In the summer of that year, chiefs at St Mungo's significantly cut the pay of new workers joining their company, which resulted in strike action later that year with members of Union Unite. Eventually management did back down and an agreement was made, but not before St Mungo staff threatened another strike, this time being at 10 days rather than the previous 7-day strike earlier in the year. But an agreement was made at the 11th hour.
There are many excuses people can make when it comes to not participating in strike action, but you did participate, and it's because you participated and because you showed unity and strength that you won. And let's be clear, when we embarked on this campaign of lobbying, demonstrating and striking, we were taking a stand for everyone who works with vulnerable people.
So what do St Mungo spend on wages and how much do the top executives earn? Let's have a look through their accounts. In 2016, so this will be the second financial year after the merge between St Mungo's and Broadway, the wage bill was just over 41.5 million, which is around half of their overall turnover for the year. If we come up to 2022, it's risen to just over 61 million. It seems to steadily go up each year. I believe 2021 was most likely a bit of a freak year due to you know what, cough cough, sniff sniff. Because if you look at the 2023 accounts, which have only just been released recently, it's now at a whopping 73 million, the wage bill. Is this really acceptable for a homeless charity? So you can't really get an accurate look on this without looking a little deeper, really. So what does St Mungo's spend its revenue on? I think you'll be quite surprised and shocked to see, for example, the pensions column. So if we look at the amounts there, it's staggering the figures they pay. If you add both the wages and the pensions together, and we're not doing this with a calculator obviously, but it's around 60% of their turnovers of 100 million, which are all available on the Companies House website, which I'll put down the bottom of the screen. And this is what it says on there: pension and retirement contributions. So this is from the 2016 accounts, but it's pretty much the same statement every year until you get to 2020 when they change their pension scheme, but more on that later. The Social Housing Pension Scheme. The association participates in a scheme, a multi-employer scheme which provides benefits to some 500 non-associated employers. This scheme is a defined benefit scheme in the UK. If we skip all the boring part and we get down to the bottom, it says a full actuarial evaluation for the scheme was carried out with an effective date of the 30th of September 2014. This actuarial evaluation was certified on the 23rd of November 2015 and shows assets of 3.123 million, liabilities of 4.446 million, and a deficit of 1.323 million. To eliminate this funding shortfall, the trustees and participate employers have agreed that additional contributions will be made in combination from all employers. Here is the opening page of the Social Housing Pension Scheme website. So in 2020, St Mungo's changed their pension scheme. Here is the statement regarding it. On the 9th of November 2020, the association exited from this scheme and transferred the scheme assets to a new scheme, the St Mungo's Defined Benefit Pension Scheme. This is a separate trustee-administered fund set up on the 2nd of November 2020 following the transfer of assets and obligations from the Social Housing Pension Scheme. The scheme holds the pension scheme assets to meet long-term pension liabilities. I mean, should a group association acting as a homeless charity really be allowed to build up a pension fund? Should they even be allowed a pension scheme at all? That pot stood at £51,406,000 at the end of the 2020-2021 financial year. What's even more interesting in the figures in the preceding years is the pot gets smaller by quite a substantial amount. If you look in the 2022-23 accounts, that figure is now at 35.7 million. How could this be? So if we go to page 44 of the accounts of that year, it explains why. St Mungo's Defined Benefit Scheme. The employer operates a defined benefit scheme in the UK. This is a separate trustee-administered fund holding the pension scheme assets to meet long-term pension liabilities. Scheme liabilities have been based on liability information as at 30th of September 2021, updated to the 31st of March 2023 by qualified authority, independent of the scheme's sponsoring employer. The actuarial valuation as at 30th of September 2021 showed a deficit of 14,072,000. The employer has agreed with the trustee that it will aim to eliminate the deficit by the 30th of May 2029. To achieve this, prior to the 1st of April 2023, deficit contributions of 1.56 million per annum plus 81,000 per annum in respect of scheme expenses were payable. So, am I reading this right? They have once again transferred the funds from their pension scheme into another that has a £14 million deficit. St Mungo is a charity for the homeless, with funds from well-giving people are paying off a 14 million deficit in a pension scheme that is independent from the association. Here's some of their funders and sponsors. Before we continue, I just wanted to say this video and info is in no way aimed at the amazing outreach teams on the streets, paid and unpaid. I first came across St Mungo's and the homeless crisis in 2018 after a month-long occupation of some land on some disused land opposite the Bournemouth International Centre, designed to highlight the problem in the area. It wasn't quite what it seemed on the surface, but that's for another video. But that was the first time I'd come across St Mungo's, and first impressions were they were genuine, caring and wanted to help. It's not until you look beneath the surface a little that you find the issues. But the guys on the street are generally good people that want to help, and most are totally unaware of what goes on above them. This is in no way aimed at them. As already shown, they are largely the victims here and are paid a pittance. So what do the top executives earn? The information on exact salaries is a little scarce, as some years they name people individually and some years they just list the amounts and a figure, like this one from the 2013 accounts. But we can get a good idea anyhow. In 2013, so this was before the merge between St Mungo's and Broadway, the number of executive on large salaries, say 60,000 above, were 7. You had 4 between 60 and 80,000, 3 between 80 and 110,000, which you ask me is still too much. But if you compare this to the latest accounts of 2023, so just 10 years later, it's now at an alarming 40. 40 executives on over 60,000, with 4 of those being on over 100,000. But 2 companies merged into one. Maybe you would just have more directors. Well, in 2013, so this is the first financial year after the merge, there are only 11 directors. So this simply is not the case. The common perception and opinion you'll hear quite often is, well, it's quite normal these days with big charities, or you need to pay more for the best in their field. Well, I'd argue having a wage bill which is over 60% of your turnover, not to mention pensions and the other extras that we'll be going through, is totally reckless spending and disrespectful to the people that you're allegedly trying to help.
This is how they treat the homeless as possessions. Shut it up. Please just watch them do it.
Who are some of the executives and what kind of roles do they have? Lee Lewis. Due to the merge in 2014, St Mungo's as an organisation inherited executives from Broadway. One of those being Howard Sinclair, who we talked about earlier, but another was Lee Lewis, known as Sir Lee Lewis, but we'll stick to Lee. Lee Lewis is a retired civil servant and has a long history of working for the government in various roles, including Department for Work and Pensions, better known as the DWP, and he also worked at the Home Office as a secretary, which may explain this. In 2018, St Mungo's were accused of sharing rough sleepers' data without consent. In response to a complaint from Public Interest Law Unit about St Mungo's dealings with migrant rough sleepers, the Information Commissioner's Office said it appears likely that St Mungo's passed locations of rough sleepers to the Home Office. It added, it appears feasible that the personal data of rough sleepers may have been passed from St Mungo's outreach teams to the Home Office without the consent of the individuals concerned. The charity did eventually say sorry a year later. Delays by the executive team at St Mungo's was blamed for the issue. In March 2021, it was revealed that Priti Patel, Home Secretary, had quietly relaunched a programme to spy on the homeless and to obtain personal data that can lead to deportation of non-UK rough sleepers. So much for the apology. And in 2022, Emma Haddad was appointed CEO, a former Home Office Asylum Director. I think it's very clear St Mungo's work hand in hand with the government. Is non-governmental organisation really an appropriate way to describe St Mungo's? After another small demonstration in 2021 by maintenance workers, once again St Mungo's were in the headlines after staff went on strike.
My name is Adam Bileski, I'm a Unite rep. I'm here on strike for St Mungo's. We're striking the fact that CEO and senior management are on £100,000 plus wages, while our wages are going down in relation to inflation. We don't like the corporate nature of our company anymore. We feel this is a struggle that's connected to the whole country at the moment also. And we're just out here striking for 4 weeks.
And what kind of support are you getting?
We're getting loads of support. I mean, the public are really into this. It's quite unexpected. Everyone knows that we're all in the same position, really. And if it's not us, it'll be them. And the public are just totally behind it from the reactions. There's the odd person here and there.
Yes. And have you got more strikes planned ahead?
Yeah, if this one's not successful, we'll do another one for a month. And we'll keep on going till September.
Okay, thanks very much and good luck.
Thank you.
Ross Wynne-Jones from the Mirror commented, "The irony of people working with the homeless but unable to pay their own rent is laughable." During the dispute, CEO Emma Haddad was accused of a foul-mouthed tirade at a union meeting as pay discussions got heated. Once again, management backed down and agreed to a backdated pay increase.
Look at what they've done to this homeless sanctuary. It's the last of us here now.
So what's your thoughts on St Mungo's? Are they fit for purpose as a homeless charity? What for you constitutes a charity scam? Would you donate money knowing a large percentage of that is going to pay off pension deficits, build up pension funds, and also paying an ex-government employee a reported $200,000 a year? Are they really any different from the nightclub lollipop charity sellers who give minimal amounts to the actual charity that they claim to be helping? There's lots that hasn't been put into this short documentary, like a $100 million grant given to St Mungo's that well-meaning donation givers help to pay back. The $120 million property portfolio, the fact their turnover is $116 million, yet they will pass people on to local volunteer groups for help and essentials. That their organisation was downgraded to what the government calls G2 for worries about its governance structure. Although this is the end of the documentary, I want to leave it open for another, as I do plan on getting an update from the guys on the streets about St Mungo's. Do you have any stories you'd like to share, or have you come in contact with St Mungo's? What's your views on them as an organisation? Comment below.